Though House Republicans were able to successfully, albeit barely, impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, for many, their ultimate target remains President Biden himself, which is why the likes of James Comer and Jim Jordan continue to utterly and unnecessarily humiliate themselves on the Fox Propaganda Network and other right-wing media, and it is glorious to behold. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert buttons before you go. I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, friends, given all the other things going on recently, we haven't had much time to talk about the still ongoing, desperate, futile, baseless impeachment inquiry into President Biden, which Republicans have dedicated virtually all of their political capital to over the past year, even though it's the least productive iteration of Congress because of their refusal and their inability to govern. You would think, given that the polling is so lopsided on this, given that there's no lawful predicate, that they would just throw in the towel, that they would quietly slink away in defeat. But no, James Comer, Jim Jordan, and Jason Smith, the guy on the far right there, they're determined to try to impeach Biden, so they recently appeared and embarrassed themselves once again. We have several clips to play. There's a lot to unpack. We'll let these the three stooges here take it away.
Jason, what impeachable offenses are you looking at?
Well, Sean, if you just look, Joe Biden, the Biden family has been cashing in his position of power in government. We have numerous examples of witnesses who have said that. The IRS whistleblowers have highlighted evidence of that. Joe Biden's going to go down as the most corrupt, compromised president in our lifetime.
Prediction: will Joe Biden, as a result of the three of you and your independent investigations, be impeached? Do you believe that'll happen, Jim Jordan?
We got to wait till the evidence is done. We got to see where our colleagues are. But I think the case is pretty compelling.
Jim Comer.
I agree with Jim Jordan.
And Jason Smith, last word.
I'm with Jim and Jamie.
Do you see the awkwardness, the forced smiles, the hesitation? Jim Jordan, of all people, a guy who's so gung ho about impeaching Biden, even he hesitates. Well, we got to see where the evidence is. James Comer, who said famously back in August of last year that he would, if it were up to him, Biden would be impeached at this very moment. They're hesitating, folks. The fact that these cocky, blowhards are hesitating now just goes to show how razor thin the predicate is. As a matter of fact, they had their latest star witness, Tony Bobulinski, and for those of you who are blissfully unaware of the intricacies of the Hunter Biden conspiracy theory, Bobulinski is actually a pretty big name. This is the second big star witness because the first one, Devin Archer, failed spectacularly. And according to Jamie Raskin, the ranking Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, this is no different. So just as expected, Republican star witness and Donald Trump's political pawn repeated the same debunked and vacuous allegations against President Biden, recycled from Trump's 2020 campaign. Over the course of his more than 8-hour-long interview, Bobulinski did not provide any evidence of wrongdoing by President Biden, nor did he provide any evidence at all that President Biden was involved in his family's business dealings. Mr. Bobulinski testified that neither Hunter nor James Biden ever indicated that Joe Biden would receive money from their business dealings, and Bobulinski confirmed that Joe Biden was not part of their business structure. Bobulinski conceded that he only ever had 2 brief, non-substantive conversations with Joe Biden, both at a time when Joe Biden was a private citizen, and Bobulinski could not point to any discussion he had with Joe Biden about his son's business dealings. When asked who invited him to the October 2020 presidential debate or organized his press conference hours earlier, Bobulinski repeatedly claimed not to know. Eventually, he admitted that Jason Miller, who was a senior advisor to the Trump campaign, introduced him at his 2020 press conference and that he was likely a guest of Donald Trump's at the debate. Unable to support his claims against President Biden with any evidence, Bobulinski accused FBI agents of lying in their FD 302 report, accused the Wall Street Journal of lying in their reporting, which dismissed Bobulinski's claims, accused Cassidy Hutchinson of lying, and accused his former business partners, as well as 9 of Republicans' own witnesses, of lying because they have affirmed that Joe Biden was not involved in his son's business ventures. Republicans devoted yesterday's interview, just like every interview before it, to replaying the same years-old farcical conspiracy theories in service of Donald Trump's demands for political retribution and chaos. Yikes. Sounds like it didn't go well. As a matter of fact, James Comer appeared on Newsmax to whine and complain and say that Democrats bullied this particular witness. Take a look.
I've never seen such witness intimidation as what I saw today. And it wasn't necessarily from the Democrat staff who were leading the deposition. It was from the members. It was from Jamie Raskins. It was from Goldman. It was from Garcia. It was from Crockett. They were there. They were wagging their fingers. They were pointing. They were yelling. They were calling Tony Bobulinski a liar. They were telling him to shut up. Wow. Tony Bobulinski is
the faux outrage on behalf of Newsmax. Wow. Now, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett from Texas, one of my favorites, she responded to this. Let's read between the lines here. We ask questions on the very real credibility issues with your witness. If his claims can't stand up to the most basic scrutiny, that's on you. Sorry to ruin your circus. Dan Goldman also responded, Chairman James Comer, if you think that was witness intimidation, please release the video you took of the interview so the American people can be the judge. You brought in a Trump campaign plant to peddle your same lies. And the evidence matters, not your baseless allegations. The New Republic did some reporting on this as well in reference to what Goldman said and what Jamie Raskin said in his press release. Bobulinski's story on Biden becomes more questionable in light of his connections to the Trump campaign. He first raised allegations of Biden corruption in October 2020, just days away from the presidential election, as part of what the New York Times called a desperate rescue mission by Team Trump. The allegation was that Joe Biden profited from a Chinese oil venture with his son. He tried pitching the story to the Wall Street Journal with help of three people close to Trump. But even the Journal wasn't interested due to lack of verifiable facts, Wall Street Journal being an infamously conservative outlet. On the eve of Trump and Biden's final debate, Bobulinski went public with the allegations in a press conference organized by the Trump team, per the New York Times. He then attended the debate as Trump's surprise guest. What the Journal did publish moments after Trump and Biden's final debate said that corporate documents reviewed by its reporters showed no role in the venture for Joe Biden, etc., and so forth. As a matter of fact, the White House and President Biden are circulating a memorandum breaking down in vivid detail the past holes, or rather exculpatory evidence in the past 7 of the witnesses that were produced by the House Oversight Committee. Okay, so basically all these witnesses that Republicans have been interviewing in their desperate quest to condemn Biden, each of them have clear-cut examples of where they exonerate Biden. You know, listen, do you have any evidence that Joe Biden engaged in any sort of misconduct? Did Joe Biden ask you to do anything inappropriate? Do you have any evidence that Joe Biden was involved in Hunter Biden's business dealings? And every single time, no. Folks, it's so bad. They continue to step on rakes. It's so bad that Lou Dobbs, you may or may not remember Lou Dobbs, an infamously conservative former Fox News host, he excoriated Republican Andy Biggs about it. Take a look at this. This is pretty embarrassing.
And quite frankly, his story is not really credible, but you have to have specific proof that he did lie. And I think he's couching. I think a lot of these people.
Honestly, Congressman, I have to say to you, it sounds to me like we're right where we were 6 months ago. It really does. I don't see any advancement in this and a progress toward incriminating evidence for the president. I mean, what we're talking about is a stasis. It's as if everything is frozen right there in time, waiting for either contradiction, invalidation of these statements by people that I think everyone would assume common sense tells you that they're lying through their teeth and trying to protect someone. But that's insufficient.
So Lou Dobbs gives the game away. He's so sympathetic. He wants these people to be right, but he knows that they have failed utterly to prove their case, not just barely missed the mark. They are wildly off the mark. He says it's in stasis. You've made no ground whatsoever. This is so pathetic. I mean, Republicans should be relentlessly mocked about this, belittled, taken seriously, not at all, because it's so utterly transparent, right? Alan Dershowitz, who defended Donald Trump during at least one of his impeachment, I know it wasn't both. I think it might have been the first one, the Ukraine one. This is what he had to say in terms of his advice for what Republicans should do in terms of their impeachment effort against President Biden.
Shady. This is counter to everything we stand for in America, and it's a threat to our national security.
Alan, your thoughts?
Well, certainly the House Judiciary Committee has the right to get all of this information and to pursue an inquiry into corruption. But it's not an impeachable offense because it didn't occur while he was president, and they haven't been able to point the finger at him rather than at his children. As you know, I defended President Trump against unconstitutional impeachment. You need to show treason, bribery, other high crimes and misdemeanors. I don't think they can show that against the incumbent president of the United States. So, yeah, go ahead and do the investigation. Find out if there was corruption, but drop the impeachment and drop the impeachment.
Drop the impeachment. So says Alan Dershowitz. Folks, it doesn't get more black and white than this. I mean, they have had a year. They have had an uninterrupted year. This is all they've done. They certainly haven't had to try. They certainly have not tried to pass meaningful bipartisan legislation. They have dedicated the entirety of their political capital to politically injuring President Biden via his family. The facts are there. The fact of the matter is Maria Bartiromo, Lou Dobbs, Alan Dershowitz, one Fox host after another, people who are desperate to see them succeed are in fact infuriated that they've failed so utterly. This is an blatantly baseless impeachment effort. And the American people are starting, I think, to understand it, which is why poll after poll after poll shows, despite the GOP's best efforts, despite the sympathy of the Fox propaganda network and other right-wing outlets, pluralities of Americans oppose impeaching President Biden. And Democrats should work diligently to mock, belittle, and undermine the Republicans and make them pay the ultimate political price at the ballot box in November. Let me know what you think in the comments.